Hey, I'm Jeff.
I'm Rob.
Bart.
And thanks for tuning in to the Off-Road Toolbox. Here we are live at the Off-Road Toolbox World Headquarters in Daytona Beach. World Headquarters. We're worldwide. Now, if you're watching us at our official Jeep Beach page on YouTube. And that, Jeff, is?
At Jeep Beach Official.
That's right. That's right. You got it right. All right. We got to practice that. Now, for those of you who are listening to us, you can see us on that YouTube channel. For those of you watching us on that YouTube channel, you can listen to us on your
favorite place where you get your podcasts.
Favorite podcast platform. So, again, thanks for tuning in. You guys ready for the show?
Always, man.
Yep.
We're doing it.
It's now time for another episode of the Off-Road Toolbox. A Jeepers guide to everything off-road. Powered by Best Price Trailers.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Off-Road Toolbox. You, of course, know who I am, and, of course, you know who's next to me.
Yep.
Jeff and Bart.
Yes.
I'm Rob.
And who's that mystery man behind the camera?
Yeah, same old. So,
Same old.
Same old. Me?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. We got all three of us here together.
Yes.
And you've got some pretty interesting stories to tell.
Or again, it's a guy that I followed for a few years. He's a Jeep guy. His name is Dan Grech, and he has the show or the podcast and Facebook page called The Road Chose Me. And to be this cool, I mean, here's a guy I want to do something. And he's from Australia, lives in Canada, and he one day kind of wakes up and goes, well, he saw, it was interesting. He watched the guy, it was in the 70s or the 80s, that took his motorcycle all over the world. And he was a reporter, and they kind of paid for it. And he read this guy's book, and he kind of goes like, I want to do that, you know? And it's interesting because in Daytona Beach, we have Bike Week, and we have a whole bunch of bikers that come.
Oh, yeah, from out West Coast.
Oh, everything. But so I can remember, we used to laugh because back then in the 80s and the 90s, you didn't see a Harley with 100,000 miles on a motorcycle. You just didn't, right? But the BMW guys, all right, especially the BMW with the Paris-Dakar ones, that's the on-road, off-road, motorcycle. These guys had 500,000 miles. I had one guy I met legitimately 1 million miles on his BMW.
Jesus.
That was the Boxer engine.
My butt hurts already.
But these guys would talk about, it was neat because at the time I was a motorman, and they would pick on me for the Harley. But these guys, I'd listen to them talk, and they're a good group of guys, all middle-aged in the 40s and 50s, very well-to-do. These guys actually didn't work. They had money. But they used to go on road trips, and they would talk about going through, South America, Central America on their motorcycles, all over America, packing them up. I met a guy from Australia that brought his bike over and was doing the United States. So there's people who've done these expeditions and all types of vehicles. Right. So Dan decides in 2008, he's going to start planning for it, and he buys a used Jeep, to do it. And he didn't have, so Dan's not rich. He doesn't have the Smithsonian backing him up, giving him all this money. He's just doing it on his own. And he's gonna get a Jeep, got a TJ, and he's gonna bring it down the Pan American Highway, which is from Alaska all the way down to the tip of Argentina.
Again, what kind is it?
A TJ.
How about that?
He got a 4.0 TJ. It was just really interesting to look at it. And this is before GoFundMe and all these other things. This guy had to raise his own money.
In fact, he probably used paper. His maps.
Yes.
Because there was no GPS and all that.
And that's what he talked about, how he had to plan all this and do maps and everything. So he got his first one. He's on his fourth Jeep now, which is kind of interesting. But the first one he did, again, it was in June of 2009. He decided he was going to drive it, and it was just super neat. But he ended up driving 50,000 miles. He visited 17 countries, and it took him a year and 10 months. And so he bought a 2000 TJ in 2008 for $5,000.
Wow. $60K on the clock.
He had 60,000 miles on it, and he just did, and it's stock. It's just stock. He actually ended up taking the seat out to put all of his camping gear in it, right? So, and the total trip cost him $27,300. But again, it took him a year and 10 months to do this trip. It's just to have that and be self-sufficient and to do all these things. And he lived out of the Jeep. He had a tent, and that was one of the things of how he did it. Interesting fact, 14 flat tires, so he had to repair tires. Didn't have a single breakdown with the 4.0.
No kidding.
All that
Really? No, not one breakdown.
not one breakdown.
That makes you happy.
No check engine light. Nothing.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that. He didn't say
Okay.
that. You know. So
They probably
that
just put tape over the top
Yeah.
of it.
and so what he did is when he got to the tip of Argentina, and he was going to come home, somebody offered to buy his Jeep, so he sold his Jeep for what he had in it, and then bought the ticket and flew home. So it was kind of cool. So that was his first adventure, was do that one. So then he bought us a couple Jeeps and was trying to do all kinds of modifications and trying to do gas or diesel engines. And then in 2017, he comes up with the idea is, I'm going to do Africa, the whole continent.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
And what did he do? Okay, give us the details on that one.
Well, that one there, he drove it again. He drove 50,000 miles on the first one. On the second one, it was
53,000.
53,000.
What did he use?
JKU.
JKU.
JKU
You got
on
a
this one.
Rubicon, yeah.
Okay.
The 3.8. He wanted the 3.8. Was pretty interesting. He wanted the JKUR because he wanted it. He actually took everything out, the seats out, had a special roof made that it was part of his camper system. So
Okay.
he actually slept inside of it this time, especially in kind of Africa. I mean, with lions and all the
Yeah, you can
hyenas.
get
and all
eaten.
yeah.
You're
So-
basically bait.
Yes. So he wanted to be able to sleep in his vehicle, and he modified it. I mean, some neat stuff. But he visited 35 countries. It was just kind of, again, little over 2 years.
Yeah.
365 days. So about 2 years of traveling all over Africa. I mean, bad roads, good roads. At one point, he flipped it on its side. He had to self-right it. He goes into detail, and it was interesting why he picked the JK, and he needed one that could fit inside a shipping container. So he had to buy a vehicle that could fit, because he had to ship it from Canada over to Africa and to get it in. So he went with a 2011 JKU Limited, Rubicon. He wanted the 3.8 engine.
Okay.
Because, and this is 2017, he didn't want the 3.6. The 3.6 had too many problems.
The 3.8 was the
That's what I
minivan.
have. It's the minivan engine
Yeah.
we talked about. Yep. He went with a 6-speed manual transmission. He wanted the front and rear. Again, with the Rubicon, you get the front and rear locking differentials. You get the good axle. You get the 410s, and you got a 4.1 gear ratio for the transfer case. All that neat stuff. He added the Titan fuel tank. We did a thing about fuel tanks.
Yep, we did that not long ago.
So again, he drove this. He did an AEV 2.5-inch lift. He did all of this. He didn't have a single breakdown. Again, not a single breakdown from it. Was interesting facts. And one of the reasons why he goes into it, why he picked the JK, is because since then, at this time, there was 2.2 million JKs made, and they're all over the world. So that's kind of interesting. You're all over the world, and there's parts, and there's people who can work on it. He did end up going with gas versus diesel for a whole bunch of reasons, but there's enough gas stations around the world that gas was okay. And when you go into foreign countries, one of the first things you do before you buy fuel is you have a glass jar. And whether it's gas or diesel, you put it in the glass. You put a little
So you can
bit
see if it's got water in it.
water in it or any, contaminants in it, and so because it's fuel injected. So he had to do regular maintenance. He had to do things. One of the interesting things is he had to put a kill switch in to keep people from stealing it. So he had to put it, and I've seen other people do that. Put a kill switch in that's hidden, so there's no power to the, so they can't steal it. And that was one of the interesting things.
I had one of those in my other TJ that I had. It came with it.
Yeah.
And it was it had something that there was a key that you had to unlock. It was one of those round.
Yep.
It was underneath the driver's
security
side.
key,
Security key. Boom, and that's
Yep.
how it would basically kill it.
And then actually one of the other things is the JK is the most modified vehicle in the world in his research.
Well, yeah, because people are making more for it.
Right.
Correct.
Versus the CJ, the
Everything,
YJ,
yeah.
TJ, yeah, because that was the first era
Yes.
of all these aftermarket products. That's when Jeep blew up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was just kind of, all that stuff was kind of cool. For spare parts, he carried hoses, some sensors, like a crank sensor, a cam sensor, a neutral safety switch, fuses, OB scanner. He carried the belts I always tell people to carry, valve stems, U-joints, and oil filters. That's what he carried for spare parts. And then everything else, if he needed it, I didn't know this, that Rock Auto ships worldwide.
No kidding.
So if he needed something, he'd get to a town or a city that would get it, and it takes him 5 to 7 days to reach him wherever it was in the world. So
how often did he have to?
He would get it serviced, like he'd get oil changes,
Right.
and, brakes and things like. So he was getting all kinds of. He kept up with the maintenance, and because he was in Africa, and when I went to Africa, they're real picky about VHF or handheld radios or ham radios and everything else. So he strictly and even satellite communications, they're pretty. In some countries, it's illegal, especially. So he did everything with cell phones. So he got a cell phone that he could just change the SIMs card, and he got one. It was an unlocked cell phone, and he would use the cell phone to get all of his communications and internet and everything else. You buy little cards, scratch off, you get your minutes and time and everything like that. So for his that's what he did. And it was just interesting. And he built, and I got pictures of it. He did a nice build in it. It was just interesting to do. And again, it's just kind of cool. And on this one, his girlfriend, I think is now his fiance, she came and joined him on several legs of the trip.
Yeah, when she could.
Those photos that you have, you can put those up on social media.
Yes.
Okay.
I did read that one of his main concerns was weight,
Yes.
because going through Africa, you've got all kinds of different things, and weight can be a very big factor.
Yes. And it was, the whole thing, the way he built it, the way he did it, and I'm envious. To go on that type of adventure. He didn't have a wife, he didn't have kids, he didn't have things, and this was what he was doing. He was selling, he was doing like a Patreon, so he had. That's how he was getting his money. But it's just really, really amazing. So when we think that's done, he decides he's going to do Australia. Mm-hmm. So then he gets he goes over to Australia, and it's interesting. Australia is really strict on lifts and tires.
Old man Emu is Australian lift.
Yes.
I think you can only go 3-inch. That's it.
It's very limited.
3 or 2 inch. I'm not.
I thought it was 2, but it could 2 to 3 inches.
Okay.
Tire size, everything is kind of thing. So on that one, he went and got a Rubicon Gladiator. And with the 3.6 engine and with automatic transmission this time.
Oh, he did use the 3.6 engine
but
this time.
because he had to buy.
He had to.
You had to because you don't have any.
Yes, and he had to get one that was over there. So again, a lot to do, and then he had to buy it stock and do the modifications at his dad's place. But one of the interesting thing was he had to get a bumper with a deflector for kangaroos.
Oh.
So it's kind of, we have deer that run out,
Sure.
That's one thing. But over there, I guess at nighttime, especially in a certain part of it, again, because Australia is a continent, that, he had to get a kangaroo deflector.
You almost need it through the Ocala forest.
Just with deer.
With the deer.
With the deer. You really,
So-
actually, if there's no.
When you say deflector,
Cow plow.
like
you
a-
mean just a V kind of thing? Is that what it?
It's more like almost
Brush
like
guard.
brush guard with a stinger on it.
Okay.
So
with a stinger, and
yeah.
it just kind of moves
Yes.
them along.
Yes.
Yes.
Out of the way.
And again, good lighting. Good lighting is really, really important. And with deer, again, having good lighting and not, and where he was, sometimes he was the only one on the road. So it's kind of, he doesn't have to worry about oncoming traffic and all that. So, and then the other thing is he had to have one of which is their CB radio, which is equivalent to our ham radio.
Yeah, and I didn't follow that too well.
So what? Okay. Well, my question then is how did everything go as far as mechanically? With
Again,
that?
no problems. But it was
Really?
it was a new vehicle.
Okay.
It was a new vehicle, and then he built it. So he didn't have any problems. And again, it was an interesting thing. But we talked about good
Didn't have
lights.
the death wobble at all?
He didn't bring it up. Again, he put in an ARB fuel tank in that one
Okay,
for
cool.
external fuel.
Okay, nice.
He talks about the radio is mandatory for going through one of the deserts.
Yes.
So because there's no cell phone service, and actually they have repeaters and things set up for people who are traveling this part of the desert.
Yeah.
So that you can call for help. And it was just. So then he gets done with that, brings it back, puts it back to stock, sells that one, and then his latest build is a JL UR. He just got another one, but he got this one is going to be diesel. And I think he's already on some of this expedition. But he on this one he built, and he didn't go with the Gladiator. He went with the JL, and basically he made it into a camper.
Okay.
So they actually cut away part of it, and they put on a special box to build it.
Okay.
And then he and his fiance, they're doing this.
He's got a fiance now.
He did then. He did in Africa too.
Okay.
But she can only come for certain legs of it, and they're back and forth and stuff. So the Australia was 36,000 miles. That was a good. I mean, nothing like the 50,000 miles.
No.
But a lot of it you can't drive through. It's
It's a lot of miles.
Yes.
A lot of hard miles.
Yes. It's just interesting that he takes Jeeps. He likes Jeeps. And all these builds
Not
that he does.
likes, he loves Jeeps.
I know.
Because he's used, if you stop and think about it, he's used Jeep on every one of these he's done.
And
It's
he's
been super dependable for him.
And if you look at his YouTube channels, he's looked at all the other vehicles. He's looked at
and all
everybody else's, and he ended up saying, "I'm just going to stay with the Jeep." The Jeep, and again, the solid axle versus independent front suspension, all those things.
So what's this latest one? Where is he going, or is he en route now?
I think he was doing Iceland, Greenland, and then he's going to do something. I get bits and pieces.
Okay, so
he's not released it. He's not
Okay.
released everything he's doing with this because it's ongoing right now.
Okay.
And that's part of his thing. But he actually built it. Now his new build is on his Facebook page and on his YouTube channel. The new build. And it's pretty interesting. I mean, he thinks everything out from one.
What's the name of? Do you have the channel name?
The Road Chose Me.
Okay, it's called The Road Chose Me
The Road
on
Chose
YouTube.
Me,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
It's just, I mean, they have that passion.
The planning to go in to do something like this is, for me, even I'm very detailed when it comes down to that stuff.
Yep.
It's
I know.
astronomical.
Yes.
And to make sure that you have everything, because you got to be self-sufficient.
Yes.
We had talked about this before in a prior show that overlanding is fun, but
Yes.
you have to have everything there.
Yes, and he actually wasn't a mechanic, but he learned to do a lot of the basic, or probably more than basic, at least intermediate, if not advanced repairs in the field,
Right.
to keep going. And then when he gets to a shop, to make sure, especially in Africa, that he wasn't going to be taken advantage of.
Right.
Yeah,
because it.
Yes, but having to know this or that, so it was just really interesting that he did all this, and now he's doing it again, and I guess this one is actually pretty cool because he sleeps in he said they're going to be in cold weather, but I saw a picture, and I'm like, that looks like Iceland to me, but I could be wrong.
Well, it's like these Toyotas that put on these great big flotation tires.
Yes.
They hit across
yeah.
Arctic.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
the same thing. I mean,
Yes.
to do that, you have to plan for the weather.
Yes.
Go across Canada.
He's already done that.
Oh, he's done that.
Oh, he's done that in the U.S. everywhere. So he's got pictures
wow.
coming down here to Florida, and he's all in a Jeep. He's traveled all over, So he's done all of North America, Central America, South America. He's done Africa. He's done Australia, and so now he's on this new adventure. Whether it's going to be going through like Europe and Asia and
Russia.
Whatever. He might
Driving through
because
the Ukraine right now
because
would not be the best thing to
he's
do.
got an Australian / Canadian passport. So there's a lot of places he can go to that
we can't.
That we can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's all kind of good.
Very cool. Very
So-
cool.
Is it that time of the day?
You got a tool?
Actually, I do. Yes, I do have a tool, and it's in Africa. It's an Africa tool
Okay.
to go with this.
Hey, you see that idiot?
What the hell are you doing?
What are you doing?
What you think you're doing, you stupid idiot?
It's the Off-Road Toolbox Tool of the Day.
Are you some kind of moron?
So this has to be one of your tools.
I wasn't the tool. I was
Okay.
not the tool.
All
So one of my assignments, I got to go to Africa, and we had to work out of the embassy, and a liaison was a field grade officer. Don't want to give him up, but he's a field grade officer.
What's field grade?
You're above a captain.
Okay.
So, so nice guy, real nice guy. And they give him this diesel Land Rover Defender, really nice one, It's old, but it's just cool, And of course he takes me around in it. So I'm checking it, 4-wheel drive. I'm doing a maritime class. I'm doing counter human smuggling with Africa and the U.S. people, and we're doing our thing. But everybody's got 4-wheel drive vehicles. So I'm, all the time I'm looking at it because I'm like, hey, okay, what kind of? He had a Warn winch on it, so I'm like, because he had to take us different places to go meet people and do all this hoity-toity stuff. So, but he had this cool vehicle, and we're talking about going out exploring, and we're going to do a weekend trip, but it fell through. So we're talking, and so I'm looking at the vehicle. I'm like, hey, you got a Warn winch? I said, great winch. Have you tested it out and checked it? He goes, I don't know where the remote is. I'm like, okay, not a problem. I said, and he goes, we got to find it at some place because I just got the vehicle. And so I'm like, okay, but do you know how to jump it? He goes, what? I'm like, well, if you lose it, you can do this, but you can order any Warren winch and it's going to fit you. So you can order any of them, just get it in, and they got, shipments. Actually, you could probably buy it there in the country. So I showed him with that, and then he had a high lift jack that needed some love. It needed some work. And I'm like, do you know how to use this? He goes, yeah, they're death machines. I'm like, they're a good tool. So I'm laughing. I'm like, what kind of recovery gear do you have, And he pulled out this toe strap that's so bad. I'm like,
It was fraying at the edge.
it was actually, yes, it was not afraid. He had cuts in it.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, okay, and I'm like, so how's your, and I said, he had a real small plastic first aid kit, no fire extinguisher. And I'm like, hey, you got any of the recovery gear? You got a plug kit. You're going to get flat tires. He goes, it's a funny thing you said that because we had to go out to this place and I got 2 flat tires. I'm like, could you plug them? Because I said, you don't have a compressor either. He goes, no, I don't have a compressor. So it was.
He didn't have anything.
He didn't have anything.
What he had wasn't that good.
So, and then they had to get it fixed, and it was, and I said, okay. And I said, well, it's diesel. And he goes, yeah. And he goes, yeah, on another one of the trips, I pulled off to get diesel fuel, and it was contaminated. It was bad fuel.
Jesus.
And I said, so what happened? He goes, the embassy had to send a team out. I mean, this is a big thing when he goes down, because it's 4 to 6 people, 3 to 4 vehicles.
So this guy's
okay. So
field officer.
Yes,
okay,
field grade. He's a field grade,
meaning he's a bigwig.
Kind of, not. He's almost.
Okay.
So, but he's actually a very important position, very, very important, and very, very nice guy. So we had to go to this meeting at one of the upper scale hotels. That's and so the upper scale hotels are compounds. So you pull in for safety and everything else. So we pull in, and the World Car Challenge people are pulling in. And that's another thing. It's a different group. But they have all these off-road vehicles, and they're going around Africa. So they have all these off-road vehicles, and when we pull in, they just pulled in. So I get out right away, and I'm like, hey, can I speak? Does any of the guys speak English? And the guy goes, yeah, I speak English, mate. And I'm like, all right. So I said, hey, I'm an off-road guy. I teach off-road driving. I'm here doing other stuff. Can you show me your vehicle? So you can tell me what you're doing. So this guy's listening to everything. We're going around. So I'm looking at their winches. I'm looking at their gear. I'm looking at other stuff. And we're just going through everything. I think, again, I said, hey, you got the high lift jack, but you got these components. So we're talking about all the things they had to do and all the recoveries. And I said, like, hey, and I said, how's the fuel been? And he goes, we haven't got any bad fuel, but we put it in a glass jar first and check it,
See, there you go.
Again, from being,
Right.
So we got all done. And so these guys, we end up talking for like 30, 40 minutes. We'll go in and do our meeting. And I've offered this guy, because I was supposed to go back and forth to Africa a few times, And I said, look, I can do a 1-day off-road course for you guys, you and your team, And he goes, at first he said no. So after hearing me talk to all these off-roaders and all their gear and all, I mean, again, we're in the weeds talking about this winch and this, that, and we have this, and so and they're showing me all their gear and we're going through it all. So the next day when he comes back, we got another meeting, and he comes back and goes, hey, when you come back next month, I go, yeah. He goes, you're teaching us a course. He goes, you don't know what you don't know until, he goes, you tried to explain it to me. He goes, well, you lit up like a little kid in a candy store there.
When you see the other guys pull in, yeah.
And we got all the same gear, and it goes, and they're going out, and he goes, I have to go out into the field. And he goes, but you really good information, and it's simple stuff. And he goes, I'm upset because you're all this, we brought you over because, I didn't know you're an expert in more than one field. He goes, I brought you over because you're an expert in maritime interdiction and boat handling. I go, yep. And he goes, but I also know you told me you're passionate about off-roading. And he goes, and I've since learned you've done some high-speed off-road training for people. And I go, yeah. And he goes, we need that. And he goes, I'm more mad now because I thought I was a really squared away guy. And he is he goes, wow. He goes, very, very impressive, So it was just a neat thing. And it ended up, some other things happened, and then COVID happened, so right. I didn't get to go back.
Field grade officer.
Field grade, but he learned. But the thing was, he learned, and right away. And then again, he went and did his homework. And it's kind of funny because I said, you might want to. Yeah, I said, if you don't think I know what I'm doing, he goes, oh, I knew you on the maritime side. So I said, well,
This was where again? I mean, the story.
It was in Africa. It was in Africa,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out who the guy is.
It's okay. I don't want to give the guy.
I know you're not going to, but I'm just trying.
It was just kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, like the next day, because I met. So it was funny because I went there. I had to meet with DEA guys, and I had to meet with other people, and they're like, "How do you know all these people?" I'm like, "Well, I was coming over to Africa, so I made some phone calls," and he goes, "Well, these guys think you're some type of guru," and I'm like,
"Oh boy!"
And I'm like, I'm not.
Here we go. Hey, did you tell him you got some really nice land in Ocala?
No, I said I'm not a guru. I was a cop that's been
Gucci land.
I've been a cop that's been around the world. And afterwards, he goes, no. He goes, everybody says if you say, he goes, if you offer us a free off-road course, we better take it.
Yep.
And he goes, he goes, I was just expecting, hey, you're just a cop,
Little does he know, he's super cop.
No,
he's Bart.
he goes, but the other guy, he goes, I can't believe all the people that, I go, hey, it's a small, again, it was really good. He goes, no. He goes, I appreciate that. And he goes, you still just know your off-road stuff. I said, I just want, get me out there, please, throw me out in the middle of Africa. I'm okay,
Well, and that's the thing that you and I have built our relationship on, is because you came and taught the SAR group that we were starting up.
Yep.
And you made a lot of valid points that, same as him, I thought I knew everything.
Yeah, yes.
And then researched and started doing it.
It's slow. It was, again, you want to make sure I'm not just Joe Schlump the midget over here, selling, donuts on the side of the road here.
No, he's not. He's genuine, the same as now I'm getting genuine.
Oh, you're good. Yeah. All of us have come a long ways on this journey.
Even the man behind the mic.
I don't know. It's maybe it's starting to sink in a little bit, but I don't know.
I got a funny feeling we could take you out and put stuff in front of you and you'd be able to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. You don't know how dumb I am.
You ain't done.
Brain cells were burned a long time ago.
Mine were too.
Okay.
So,
but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe we'll get that invite to Bougieville.
Well, you can come out October 5th.
Yeah, you can come out.
Yeah. So you can learn me some stuff.
Yes. Yep.
All right.
And some of the other classes. Some of the other classes we're going to be doing.
All right. Okay.
Everybody, thank you.
Yes. With that, guys, we appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Stay safe out there. See you later.
And there you have it. Don't you feel smarter now? We'll drop more knowledge on you soon. Thanks for listening to the Off-Road Toolbox, powered by Best Price Trailers.